What's up, guys? Welcome back to Sitting Courtside, episode 59. Of course, it's your boy, Jerry D.
And it is your boy, Dante T.
Okay, yeah, that's a new one. Yeah, he
Yeah,
changed it up after
I don't know.
50
Just
58
popped in my
episodes.
head. Just popped in my head, Jerry.
After
Can you
58
believe it?
episodes, we got a different introduction from Dante.
Unbelievable. Hey, I think that means that this is going to be a big episode.
Yeah,
This
I
is going
think
to
we're
be a
growing.
monumental episode.
Yes, absolutely. Ruthless aggression.
Ruthless aggression. Boom.
Anyway, we are ruthlessly about a week away from NBA basketball, which is why we're hyped. We're teed. See what I did there? Getting a little closer to what we know and love, which is the regular season, a long grind of an 82 game.
All is going to be right in the world again.
Yes. And it's like the best time of the year. You know, you got basketball, football, hockey, baseball playoffs. It's all like in the mix together now. So.
Mid-end of October, early November is like the best time for sports.
Oh,
no debate. WNBA finals as well. Yep.
So, before we get into all of that, how great the season will be in future episodes, we have to talk about the players with the most pressure to get things done, which is to win an NBA championship, to bring home the Larry O.B. So we're going to give you guys a top 5. So we probably have different guys, maybe just have them in different slots and places. And I know you, the fans, do as well. So let's follow along with Dante's list first, and then we'll get into mine later.
Why, thank you, Jerry. Thank you for rolling out the red carpet for me. You are correct. We do have top 5 lists of players with the most expectations, with the most pressure to win a championship this year. Now, my list it's fluid. It's fluid, Jerry. All right. There's moving pieces. Okay. I had a hard time. I was between like 7 or 8 guys, but I ended up like putting these 5 together. They're on here for different reasons. Some are former champions, some already have rings, and some are ringless. So just putting that out there as well. But I'll give my top 5. I'm going to start from the bottom up. So I'm going to start with 5 and work my way up to number 1. Number 5, Jerry. This one I was kind of debating on. This guy was kind of at the tail end. Again, he's number 5. But I think just for the fact that, like, as long as he's in the league, I feel like he's always going to have the expectation to have pressure to win. It's LeBron James. Now, again, 4 championships, 4 rings. Like, he retires today. He retired 10 years ago. He's a Hall of Famer, right? It's like he doesn't need more rings. But to me, it's like LeBron James, when like he's still in the league, you still expect him to be a championship contending player on a championship contending team. That's just kind of the expectation that we have. I get it. It's just, I feel like now I'm not putting that pressure on him because do I think the Lakers are in a position to win a championship? Not at this very moment, but I feel like LeBron James, I think of him being in the finals again. I think of the 8 straight finals appearances, and I just imagine that he has pressure on himself to want to get closer to MJ or, separate himself a little bit from Steph Curry. So I have LeBron there. It's a debatable one. That's one I could have easily put someone else in, but just for the sake, just because it's LeBron James, I have him at number 5.
It's different.
It's different.
I don't mind it because I definitely think it's chasing ghosts, like MJ, and also trying to get up with, Kobe and Tim at ring count. So I'm not totally mad at it. It makes sense.
It's a legacy thing too. So
sure.
Okay. Number 4, I have someone that has not won a ring yet. That is Damian Lillard on the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, the reason why I have Damian Lillard is because think of the whole fiasco, just everything that happened for him to get to Milwaukee. Everything Milwaukee had to sacrifice to get Damian Lillard just for him not to be available from most of the first round last year. Granted, Giannis was out as well. But the Milwaukee Bucks, last week, we had a video. We did our top 5 of teams, championship contending teams, top 5 teams. And I had the Milwaukee Bucks. Because as long as Giannis and Giannis is on that team, they are a contender. Damian Lillard on that team, they should be a championship contender. He had the chance. Now, I'm not saying what he should or shouldn't have done. But in Portland, he was, arguably the greatest player in Trailblazer history. He could go down as a lifer there. Bring a championship to the city. That would be the biggest championship, probably one of the best championships since Dirk Nowitzki's Mavericks, if you brought a championship to Portland. Like a hometown, like a guy that drafted him, a team that drafted him, staying there winning the championship. going through all the whatever. But he gets traded. Granted, he went to Milwaukee, not somewhere he wanted to go, but with all this happening, like, you have to deliver. You know what I mean? Like, you went through all this stuff. You're a star player, arguably one of the best of this generation, and not win a ring. Like, where he's also getting older, so the championship window is closing. So that's another reason why I have him on here. But I expect big things from Lillard and Giannis this year on the Bucks, because people are starting to forget that they are a championship contending team. They were NBA champions just a few years ago, so a lot of pressure on Lillard to get it done this year. Number 3, I have the guy that came up short in the finals this past year, and that's Luka Doncic. I have Luka Doncic on here because he's young still. So I don't think it's like one of those, like, he needs to get this done. His championship window is very open, right? But I think just coming off of the loss, and we saw the negativity coming, people talking about his lack of leadership, his
traffic
defense,
cone,
his mental traffic cone. Like,
yeah,
he got Brian Windhorst ripped this guy apart after a finals, ripped him apart after a finals game. How does he respond to that? Now, I didn't even have the Mavericks as a top 5 team to win a championship on my list last week, but they were in the finals last year. They bring in Klay Thompson, who was one of the bigger signings of free agency. So they lost a few guys, Derrick Jones Jr., Tim Hardaway. So they lost some pieces, but they also gained some. So they're going to be in the same position as last year. Guys getting better. Luka obviously getting better. Guys taking steps like Derek Lively. Now I think the pressure's on Luka to not only bring a championship to Dallas, but prove that he's a good leader. So I think those two things kind of go hand in hand. And now he went to the finals. He got his taste. Now people are going to be expecting him to, get back, and, the result next time is going to be different. So although Luka's young, I do think, because of also how good he is, he's going to be a guy that is always going to have pressure to win a championship or anything, really.
That's what we saw in every, all-time great caliber player, right?
Look at LeBron James. Yeah, 100%. You expect them to win MVP every year, a championship. Like, that's what you expect, and that's out of respect for him because of how good he is. So
absolutely, it's a compliment. It's not.
It is, and again, he had all these people on his back throughout the playoffs, throughout the finals and stuff. And I think that this upcoming year is a big, I don't want to say prove it year, because we know how good he is. He had 30-point triple-double nearly every single year, but he really
We're not
doesn't.
worried about the regular season.
Not worried about the regular season. It's how he's going to show up in the playoffs, how he's going to lead by example in the playoffs. So hopefully, he improves from last year, but that's why I have him at number 3. Number 2. Now, this one, Jerry, I don't know how you're going to react to this. This is another like LeBron James-esque one where it's like weird, but like you'll understand where I come from, okay? He is high up on the list. He is high up on the list at number 2. Kevin Durant. The reason, Jerry, I have Kevin Durant. Now let me sing my praises. Let me give Kevin Durant his flowers right now. I believe Kevin Durant is the most gifted offensive scorer that this league has ever seen. I think he is higher than Wilt Chamberlain. Okay. I like to think that Kevin Durant going to Golden State, a lot of people look at the decision as like soft, didn't deserve the rings, this and that. I look at it as he was a 2-time Finals MVP. He was the best player on those teams. He swept those LeBron teams and was averaging 30 plus in the finals. He deserved those rings, those Finals MVPs. Say what you want about the situation, but because of him, that team was a dynasty, and I will die on that hill.
Absolutely,
I will die on that hill.
I'm with you.
If he did not go to Golden State, they would not have been a dynasty. I will die on that hill.
We are together.
So
we're there together. I'm with you.
With that said, Jerry, he needs to win a ring, not on a team that isn't the Golden State Warriors. If he retired with 2 rings, I still think he's a top 10 player of all time. When it's all said and done, like accolades, point totals go up, like when he, whatever. I think he will go down as a top 10 player. But if he wins a ring on his own, Jerry, I know he's got Devin Booker and Bradley Beal, but this is different. This is a different NBA. It's not Steph, Clay, Draymond, Prime Warriors. If he wins 1 ring out of Golden State and can kind of shake off, he's not going to shake off all of them. He's going to shake off some of those people that are like, he can't win without Steph. He can only win with Steph. He'll be able to shake that off his back, whether he wins a Finals MVP or not. He gets that extra ring. I think he's always going to have that monkey on his back, and he's always going to have that pressure until the day that he retires. So I could put him as high as 2 every single season because that's what I think. Again, I think he's still like top 10, incredible, all this and that. But for his sake, oh man, I would love for him to get another ring and just shut some people up because people blind how good Kevin Durant is because of this decision. Like when you think of Kevin Durant, a lot of people go based off of what he's done and like where he went to in the championship and not actually how good he is. So I think if he wins a championship, that kind of changes that narrative a little bit. That's my reasoning. I know it's a little crazy, but that's my reasoning.
It's definitely very jarring to you that initially.
Mm-hmm.
Just like how kind of
I get it. I saw your reaction. I know.
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense to say his name initially without the explanation. But as soon as you kind of started talking about how great he was, I instantly thought to where he won those championships and the whole bus driver and bus rider, conversations that were taking place a couple years back whenever he was winning. So I get it. In terms of pressure, like, sure, that's not a name that people are going to think about, but it makes sense why he's on your list. As high as number 2 as well.
It's high. It's high. It's high.
Oh, really? Okay. I'm not.
That's because of how much I might be tying in a little bit more of me really wanting him to win another championship because Kevin Durant is like one of my favorite players ever. Like I love Kevin Durant. I love his game. I love him off the court. People call him Twitter fingers, whatever you want to call him. He's hilarious. I love him. I love him.
I've had conversations with the dude in person. I think KD is actually chill as fuck.
I bet, dude. Oh my god, I'd love to fucking smoke a joint with him. Just talk about a pick and rolls, fucking X's and O's and shit. The triangle off. What I love Kevin Durant, and I think it's a little bit of tie of like I would like to see him win at least one more on his own before riding off. I think that would do a ton for his legacy. So that's number 2.
Okay.
Number 1. I don't see number 1. I think to me is like obvious. I don't know if it would be obvious.
Very obvious. Okay, we don't even have to talk about it because I feel like we both have the same number 1.
I felt like thinking of this. Like I was looking at all the teams and stuff. I was like, oh, let me think of like the players. This guy I didn't even have to. First name I thought of.
Yep.
Joel Embiid.
Yes.
Joel Embiid.
It's the only right answer.
I'm not going to get into a lot of it because I want you to, you'll have your time because obviously, spoiler, we know they're your number 1, so I'll give you the floor to talk about them a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it's just hasn't made it past the second round. Injury prone as any star that we've seen in recent history that didn't have an early career. It's the best team. You could argue that this is the best team that he's ever had as far as depth goes and stars around him. You want to see someone like Embiid who's so accomplished and so talented. One of the best big men since Shaq. If the best big men since Shaq, people compare him to Shaq, Hakeem, Wilt. He was having a Wilt type season last year before he got hurt, and the rest of the regular season, averaged 35 a game. Sheesh. And seeing someone like that not even make it past the second round, like, listen, I hate Philly. We can go back in many episodes, and I can tell you how much I can prove how much I don't like Philly. But it does suck seeing a player that good not really having that championship or anything to kind of back him up or kind of, he has the MVP, but he needs a ring, is what I'm trying to say. He's one of the best players one of the best players of this generation, and that's putting it lightly. And he needs a ring. I really do think he needs a ring to solidify his legacy in this league as one of the best big men
for ever.
Sure. So
could agree.
That's all I'm going to say there. When it comes to you, I'll let you finish it up, clean it up. But so that's my top 5. LeBron James at 5, Damian Lillard 4, Luka 3, Kevin Durant 2, Joel Embiid at number 1.
Yeah, for sure. I think that list is pretty interesting, especially since you have 2 36-plus-year-olds on it. But,
Absolutely.
I think who they are and what they've done for the game, it makes sense why they still have pressure. It's not pressure from us. I don't think, people naturally have those 2 on their list, but I know internally, especially for KD, I need to get one more by myself. So I understand that take. It's not crazy. It's definitely not wild. But okay,
All right. Well, now it's your turn, Jerry.
my top five. Actually, before I kick things off, I just want to. I'm gonna make a little honorable mention side piece right now
Okay.
to where I was going to put Jokic on this list. I was gonna put Giannis on this list, and I was even thinking about putting KD on this list.
Mm-hmm.
But I decided to put them in the honorable mentions mostly because for the first two, those guys have the accolades, right? The MVPs, the
Right.
DPOY for Giannis. They have one ring apiece as well, which is awesome. But now I think it's about trying to solidify what your all-time positioning is at power forward or small forward, wherever you want to put Giannis, and then
Right.
at center
Mm-hmm.
for Jokic. It's because everybody was already ready to thrust Jokic to, oh, he's top five center ever.
Mount
Like
Rushmore,
he's
top
better than
five. Yeah.
Hakeem. He's
Mm-hmm.
better than Shaq because he does this and all that. And I get it. It's an inflated league, especially for centers to have that freedom and the keys to the offense to do
Right.
things like Jokic is doing or to do things like Embiid is doing. So I understand, but I can't.
Let's slow it down a little bit.
Yeah,
Jokic is also not even 30 years old yet, so
there's plenty of time.
by the end of his career, if we can have that discussions, we'll see where the accolades stack up, and fantastic.
Yes.
But for now, no.
Let's slow our roll and
Slowly
appreciate
roll and
what we're
shut your
watching.
mouth.
And
See
that's
what I did there? See what
I,
I did
that
there?
was smooth. That was smooth. But that's exactly why I'm kind of like these guys, like Giannis as well, where, maybe you could say he's a top five power forward ever. Do you think he's better than Kevin Garnett? Do you think he's better than Karl Malone? Maybe you do. I wouldn't blame you if you do. Like, he has a ring. He has, again, the accolades, but I can't take him over at Tim Duncan yet. I can't do things
No,
like
of
that.
course.
I don't know if I can say he's better than Dirk. Like there's some levels to where I
Yeah.
can't put him at yet. So
Mm-hmm.
I think those two guys specifically, I want to see them add to their resume in terms of ring count. So it's like you got to get this shit done, so I could raise you up in these top
Right.
20 all time talks where I could start
Yeah.
bringing you down the list.
That's kind of like how that was kind of similar reasoning for Kevin Durant as well.
Exactly.
Like legacy all time.
Which is why, like, he's also in that honorable mention side.
Yeah.
It's like you get another championship on your own as the quote unquote bus driver, even if you want to say that's Devin Booker or whatever. I don't care. Either way, he won one away from Steph. It's like Shaq winning a ring away from Kobe, or Kobe winning two more without Shaq. There's narratives.
Durant. This is Durant. This is Durant's Miami championship.
Exactly. There's narratives that you want to put to bed
Right.
for yourself.
100%.
So I would love for KD to get that done as well. Anyway, to the list here,
yes.
which is going to be kind of baffling to some who I have at 5, but me personally, I'm sick and tired of everybody putting this team so high up on who's going to win the 2025 NBA title, who's going to come out the West. All right, fine. Let's give the OKC Thunder their love and say SGA is now number 5 on my list to win a championship. I get that
people put them in that position.
That's their. This is on fans. This is on analysts. This is on everybody that's shoving Oklahoma City down my throat right now. No Diddy. That's just trying to make me accept them as a title contender, and I can.
Giddy.
I'm not trying to say that they're not, but
right.
We have to treat them like such. I'm gonna treat SGA like the MVP candidate that you chose to win it in 2025.
I was about to say,
like he is. So, all right, if you are going to be this MVP candidate, if the OKC Thunder are going to take this massive jump and this massive leap, guess who's going to be in the center of all of this? It's got to be SGA. He has the game. He's a two-way superstar. He's all-star starters in the last few all-star games, all-NBA first team. You have all these accolades. You have all this pressure. And hey, it's time to see it.
Yeah.
So, obviously, there's a bunch of other names that we could probably slot ahead SGA, which is totally fine. Maybe people doesn't think he belongs here because, no, he's still too young. He's been in the league for a little while now. Long enough. 2018?
Hey, let me add 2 things to that because I like what you're saying. Because one, if we're putting them that high on a pedestal, or we're saying that they're number 1 in the Western Conference, they should have this pressure. I said SGA is winning the MVP. One, because maybe a little bit of voter fatigue and getting someone new in there, a young guy in there. But regardless, I have SGA winning MVP. And 2, I'm not trying to compare. I'm not, but it's just it's very similar. It's SGA, it's he's young, but look what the NBA, look what people have been doing to Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum over the last 5 years. They just won their first championship at 26 and 27 respectively. But for the last 5 years, granted, it's because they've been on good teams, expectations, Boston sport, whatever. The things play a part into that. But SGA is 25. He's on a team that people consider to be the next dynasty, and he's the head snake, and he's a 30-plus scorer. We should be giving him that. We should be talking about him winning. Like, you need to win a championship because that's what we do to these other young stars.
Exactly.
And I'm not saying I haven't really heard much of like people giving them. I hear people saying like they're going to be really good, but no one's saying like giving them that pressure.
They have to get it done. Like, especially the way the new CBA is lining up, right? You have to pay certain guys, and you can't keep everybody.
Right.
So maybe this is the best roster that we could see at OKC. I'm not saying it is, but maybe you won't be able to pay Chet, Jalen Williams, and the J Dub, the different Williams is there, and then Cason Wallace and Alex Caruso is there now. Like, this team's not going to be together forever. And I know people don't like to put windows or ceilings on like where a team should go, but I'm gonna put one on this team right now. Yeah, they're young, but SGA has been in the league for 7 years. This is year 7.
Yep.
Luka is also entering year 7, and we have all these expectations of what he should do.
Right.
So SGA is not going to get a pass from me. Consider this a compliment. You have made it to my most pressured players list. Time to get it done. We'll see what happens. Moving on to number 4, which I was kind of fighting with this a little bit, but then I looked at just how long this guy's been in the league, and he's played on some dog days teams where he wasn't really getting a lot of success until he dropped 70 on the Boston Celtics, a few years back. And I was like, oh, wow, this guy's really good, but he's been good. So obviously it's Devin Booker here. I think kind of going back to our KD conversation with the bus rider and bus driver, I do still believe that this is Devin Booker's team since he got the super team to come to him, right? Like, just like he said, like a few years back, I want a super team in Phoenix. I'm not going to go join one. Well, you got it. Like, Bradley Beal also missed 30 games, so that didn't help. KD was in and out of the lineup, but still was primarily, healthy and available. Right. But they still managed to win around 50 games, despite not having Bradley Beal in the lineup. But I just wish that we would have seen a better performance out of them come postseason time. Because there's no reason why the Phoenix Suns should have got swept by the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, winning the series is a whole other conversation.
Right.
But getting swept,
that's a whole other thing.
How much better are the Minnesota Timberwolves than the Phoenix Suns?
Right.
Like, I wouldn't have thought that would have been the case. I thought it was going to be
Anthony Edwards is great, and he's the next thing. He's the next best thing. But like, is he good enough to lead that team against the Kevin Durant and Devin Booker and the Suns? That's crazy.
That shouldn't have been the storyline. Honestly, amongst everything that happened in the postseason, even with the T-Wolves beating the Denver Nuggets, that was huge.
Sweeping the Suns may have been more shocking.
That was the most shocking thing of the playoffs last year for me. I didn't think that was going to happen.
That was like a, oh shit, like this team actually means business. Like they're actually like here to compete. They're ready to go.
Beat them. They busted their ass.
Mm-hmm.
So like as Devin Booker,
shit to his idol.
Like if you're Devin Booker, I'm looking at you in this light now where I need you. In the words of Magic Johnson, you got to get him back. I gotta see you actually progress here and show people why. Hey, Anthony Edwards has next. I'm still the best 2 guard in the league. I'm going to be an MVP candidate next year, and I'm going to be able to get my team deeper into the postseason. I'm looking at the Suns just like how I did last year with this measure of where it's title or bust. Literally, like the way that this window is set up, I think KD could be good until he's 42. But
I agree.
We don't know what injuries do to the body. We don't know how aging kind of works on different people. Not everybody ages like LeBron. Okay, that's an anomaly right now. He's an outlier. So not saying KD can't do it, but I'm not going to bank on him remaining at this super godlike level of basketball play forever until I see it, just like how I did for LeBron. So I need Book to be the force that gets them over the hump because this is your team. You got the super team. Like it's time for you to show up and it's time for you to show out. Like that's why you're a little notch above the OKC Thunder because you do have Kevin Durant on your team and you do have Bradley Beal. You have guys that are
solidified players.
Yes, exactly. They've made all-star games. They made all NBA teams. Bradley Beal led the league in scoring one time. So did KD. So it's you have this superstar talents on your team. Now you have an actual true point guard, which I'm glad because I hated that bullshit project. And Tyus
Different head coach too.
Different head coach. An offensive genius. And Mike Budenholzer, apparently, no disrespect to Frank Vogel, I don't think that's a job he should have took on because he's not a defensive mind. Coach Bud is. So
Yep.
that starts with Devin Booker. I'm not looking at KD. I get why he's on your list, but I'm looking at Book as
There.
a young guy that doesn't really have, a whole lot of accolades in terms of, no championships, no MVPs. Like,
Right.
yeah, a couple All
Yep.
NBA teams made, but Anthony Edwards, in a lot of people's head, leapfrogged you.
Sure.
It's
Yeah. No, I think it's also just like we each have different people, different players on the Suns on our team, but we have different reasons, and it's like
yes,
kind of like debating like who's actually the number one. We did a short where it
yeah,
was like who's the best number two option. I picked Devin Booker because it's like a 1A 1B thing. It's like
yep,
this easily could be Devin Booker's team, but I think they're like just so equal so that it's like they're the same level as importance
yeah,
to the Phoenix Suns.
exactly.
But yeah, no, I think they both. I mean, I said Durant, but Booker was someone that I'm like, not they go hand in hand for different
Right there.
reasons, but yeah, they're right there together.
Yep. Number 3. Yeah, I think it was your number 4. I have Damian Lillard here. I
Okay,
think the only reason why I have him above Devin Booker in this case is because of the longevity, because of the resume that you rolled out
he's
earlier.
older. His window's
It's
a lot
closing.
smaller.
It's
Mm-hmm.
closing. And just like how I looked at Giannis for the honorable mentions, where I need you to get another championship or two for the sake of your legacy, for the sake of your ranking, and all
100%.
those things.
Oh my gosh.
Damian
Mm-hmm.
Lillard without a championship, people are going to look at him because a lot of people that look at this game 20 years from now, when we're a little grayer, have maybe a little couple grays in our
I've
beard.
had grays in my hair for years, Jerry. And it's already starting.
Motherfucker, I'm bald. So
Bald is beautiful, Jerry. You know this.
I appreciate that, but
Yeah,
nah, I'm just
I tell you this every day, Jerry. Bald is beautiful. Bald is beautiful.
little text messages in the morning or some
Good
shit.
morning, Jerry. Remember, bald is beautiful.
But now Damian Lillard has this stigma in 20 years though, where people will look at his numbers and people could look at somebody like Steve Nash and be like, well, how good of a point guard was Dame really? Yeah, he scored a lot, but I think Steve Nash has 2 MVPs and he averaged 19 and 12 for a few
Right.
seasons in a row. And it's like, no
But
matter how you feel about Dame or Steve Nash, who's better, that's a conversation for another day. But I think it will easily be Steve Nash if you just look at a resume. Because
yeah.
there's 2 MVPs on Steve Nash's resume.
Mm-hmm.
Dame
And it's
has a
just
couple All
like,
NBA teams, but
yeah, but he doesn't have those big awards, and it's like it's unfortunate because like the narratives and stuff, like
exactly.
people that rank players and legacies and stuff. I'm not saying I'm not saying I'm one of those people, but rings really weigh heavy for a lot of people. So
They do.
like that one ring for that one ring, I'm not like Dirk, for example. If Dirk retires with no ring,
You don't look at him
I
as
don't think he's a top 15 player of all time. I
no.
think
You
that
don't look at
Dallas
him as
Mavericks championship run did unbelievable things to his legacy. Damian Lillard, in 20 years from now, we'll look back and be like, we'll see someone like Lillard and be like, oh, yeah, he had good stats, but he didn't win a championship. So he really was.
and
How good, like you said, like how
that's
good was he really?
that's my point. Because
Because
people just
comparatively
look at
speaking,
resume.
him and Steph are like the two best guards of this generation. You could argue. Like I think though, like shooting wise, maybe as well. Shooting
Yeah,
wise,
definitely
you can
shooting
say
wise.
that.
Definitely
Definitely shooting wise. Lillard's in the conversation of like this 2010s, like late 2010s era, like best
Yeah.
guards.
It's him, Steph, and Kyrie are the face of the 2010s for the
One
point guard
thousand
position,
percent.
I would say.
But like people will look at him compared to the other two and be like, yeah, like he may have been just as good talent wise, maybe a little notch below, but like Kyrie's got a ring, one of the better rings in NBA history. Steph's got 4 of them. Lillard, then people like Lillard's a huge drop off. It's not that close anymore.
Yep.
So I get it.
That's the piece that's kind of pulling at me for why he's leapfrogging an SGA and a Booker. He has less time remaining.
Yeah.
So
Dame
what are the Bucks gonna do? Yeah, no pun intended there. But especially just because of where the Bucks are at organizationally too, where if y'all don't get it done, is Giannis gone? Is Dame
They're
gone? Like,
fucked.
what does this look like? Because I
They're
don't know if you
fucked.
guys have the money or the flexibility to try to bring in more pieces to make this make sense.
Right.
So it's looking kind of grim for Dame, but they have a good chance. I still have faith that this dynamic duo will be able to go far in the East. They just got to be healthy. It's not even about Dame just being healthy, but as long as Giannis is there, y'all have a puncher's chance to do anything because he's arguably the best player in the league. So for Dame's sake, I hope he could play at least to 85 or 90% of who he has been his career because this game isn't dependent among athleticism. So you can age like fine wine too, and I know he
Yeah.
can. It's just he's been injury prone the last 4 years or so. It's been kind of tough to see.
Yeah, and again, like people forget like how quickly people forget because the Bucks were out of the playoffs really last year. They lost in the first round. Everyone was hurt, so it's like these guys are like, this is a championship team. They should
Yeah,
have this, whether like age or not. Like they should have this pressure on them because people expect them every year to be in that like top of the Eastern Conference, late in the Eastern Conference playoffs type of team. So
yeah.
yeah, I root for Dame. I mean, obviously, I want the Celtics to win a championship, and I always root for them more than anyone else. But Lillard retiring without a ring would be
I
heartbreaking,
you
man.
you
It
end up
really would be.
in these different conversations where you're with no disrespect to any of these guys, please, but the Chris Pauls or the John Stocktons, the Steve Nash,
Allen
Patrick Ewing.
Iverson's even like if
Yeah,
Allen
like
Iverson retired with the ring, oh my god,
different. We look at them
oh
different.
my god,
We
it's
look at
just
them
two
different.
different directions. Your career like legacy goes down. Really.
Exactly. But
All
yeah,
right.
that's my number three. I think it's pretty clear why. Number two, which was your number three, I have Luka Doncic. I
Okay.
think for all the
Yeah.
same reasons that you mentioned, being as young as he is, I get it. But you went to the finals last year, and you've been respected as an MVP favorite. I think for the last 3 to 4 years, he still hasn't gotten that yet, by the way. But just the respect of
It's
who he
got to be
is,
coming. It's
yeah,
got to be coming.
it's loading in the next 3 seasons or so, I think. But just as he plays his game, just as he continues to expand upon his game and fits this new era of just big guards being able to do a lot of different things, or 6'8" players. Let's not even just limit it to guards, because if you're 6'8", 6'9", can handle the ball, could shoot, could defend it. Well, not defend in Luka's case, but if you can defend, it's a plus. But
Yeah.
you have to be a unit, and that's literally what Luka has been offensively for the Dallas Mavericks. 30 plus points a game, 8 plus rebounds, 8 plus assists. Stats look great on paper. I mentioned it when you were doing your list that if you don't do anything in the postseason, I don't give a damn what you do in the
Right.
regular season. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's great. It's fun to watch. I love Luka, like especially him dropping one of the 3 guys to drop 70 last year. It's awesome. But I gotta see it.
No
Like
one cares about what you do in the regular season at the end of the day. It's about what you do in the playoffs, and if you get to the finals, what you do there. So that's what people
yeah.
remember you for.
A player of this magnitude that's also on a team that is known for one great foreign born legend who we mentioned earlier in Dirk.
Make
And
them
people
known
are
for two.
saying, yeah, people are saying in the organization, he's as talented. He's just as good. Mark Cuban said it. He's just as talented. I've seen more out of Luka than I've seen in Dirk in the 20 years that he played for that organization. That's the ultimate compliment for a guy that won them probably arguably the toughest title in NBA history. So
Yeah.
I need to see Luka take that step. You still got Kyrie there. I think they improved as a team by adding Najee Marshall, Klay Thompson, and Quentin Grimes. It's a better looking roster than what it was last year. So these guys got to get it done. There's no excuse for it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And
All right. Big
the
reveal.
unanimous number one for the both of us here, I think, is Joel Embiid. It's not a
Yes.
surprise. I think this should be on everybody's number one list. If whether you're a pro analyst or you're just a junky Philly fan sitting in the garbage can somewhere because that city is filthy, but you
Tough.
just
You're
yeah, I
not getting
got
an argument out of me.
nah, it's crazy. But yeah, nah, I think this is self-explanatory. Like you said, one of the most skilled bigs ever, one of the most skilled players of this generation for sure. And you haven't been out of the second round. You lose to the
It's tough.
Hawks the year that you're actually supposed to get there. And you could have been battling with Giannis to see who would have got to the finals. And that would have been the best series in probably recent memory. But you
Sure.
lose to the
Yeah.
Hawks. That's like the lasting memory of like this is prime Ben Simmons, this is Jimmy Butler. Like these are just these
I
guys that
when I think of Joel Embiid in the playoffs, I think of that, and I think of
the
him
Kawhi.
walking off, Kawhi crying. That's what I think. And listen, it's emotional. It's an emotional sport. You take it very seriously. That's your life. But man,
Yeah.
that's all I remember is him crying in the playoffs and losing.
It's
It's
it's too many early exits for me to look at you again. I talked about legacy talk with the Jokic's, with the Giannis's. You're not even there.
no,
Like
no, he's not.
you haven't even started your career quite yet. Yeah, you got an MVP, man. Congratulations. Like that puts you a notch above certain bigs in NBA history that don't have it and that aren't scoring machines.
Right.
But what are you right now? You're
What
just a
does that do
really
for me?
talented player. You're a top 3 player in the NBA today. with
That's it.
nothing on your resume.
That's it.
I
And
didn't.
he's talking about recently he's been talking about like what he's got to do to stay healthy for the playoffs and like how they're going to look at it, like he's might not play back to backs ever again, and like
Yeah,
they're really going to be cautious when it comes to how much he plays in the regular season. So those days of MVPs and all this might be out the window
it's
for
over.
the 65 game threshold, because at this point in his career, like you said, like we've said, like the only thing that matters is what you do in the playoffs. Like, yes, he has the MVP. He's been averaging 30 plus in the regular
Yeah,
season. That's
all
great.
NBA
That's
first
just all
teams.
that's going to be is a trivia answer in a few years,
Yeah,
at a Wednesday night bar trivia night. It's like you need some players don't like, not that some players don't, but what I'm trying to say is like you can be remembered as an all-time player without a ring. Like an
yeah,
Allen Iverson, right? That's my one big example here.
yeah.
Or like a
Actually,
Karl Malone, even whatever.
Charles Barkley.
Charles Barkley, Joel Embiid needs a ring. Just if he's been healthy and stuff, it's just he's missed so much time with injuries and stuff that he's missed so much time to really rack up more MVPs, scoring titles and stuff. Then at that point, it's like okay, then he has all this other shit. Maybe he does he need
Yeah,
a ring? But he has the accolades, but he doesn't because he's missed so much time. That one MVP isn't gonna really like
it's
hold
not
that
going to
much
move enough
weight.
weight
It's not going to
at the
move the needle
conversations.
enough. He
At the
needs a ring.
tables, at the tables, we're not going to be talking about Joel's name as one of the top 5, top 10 centers in the game. Like we're
If
not going to put him at the.
if he
He's not
wants
at
to
the
be
table in terms of talent. He's all the way up. In terms
sure
of talent, but in terms of
legacy
your
at the Thanksgiving dinner table, he's not sitting with Shaq, Hakeem, Kareem, Wilt,
no
like Bill Russell. He's not sitting with any of those guys. Jokic, not even, like not yet. He needs. I think if he gets a ring, I think he can
man,
be there. But
everybody already got their plate of food sitting at their respective tables. Joel's still waiting in line right now.
he's
So
outside the window, like holding his plate up, like
yeah, it's just
spare
got it,
food.
got his
Happy.
face plastered against the glass, got his mouth open, breathing heavy. Like that's how
People
hungry
throwing
you got to be to
snowballs
go
at him.
get this done. Yes, like you need to be
Yeah,
that hungry to go get a championship. So I could put him in this different conversation. Like it sucks because even for all 10 guys, well, some of the same guys are 5 players list. Like it's not all these guys are going to win championships.
yeah,
Realistically, there's somebody on our list that's never going to see the light of day of like winning a championship. Like Luca
right.
could possibly not get back because the
Embiid,
West is the
Luca,
beast.
and Embiid, Luca, and who was I going to mention? The Damian Lillard. Like the odds of all three of them winning a championship, like not. I don't know. I don't think it's that high.
It's not
It's
great.
tough.
It's definitely
No,
not
it's not
great.
great.
So I
So
mean, it's a tough conversation, but yeah, for my 5, just a quick recap. It's SGA at 5, Devin Booker's at 4, Damian Lillard at 3, and Luca at 2, with Joel at 1. So all these guys are all NBA talents. All
yep,
these guys have what it takes to potentially get, their team over the hump. But it's all about getting some lucky bounces, like Indiana going to the conference finals last year. Most unexpected thing, probably as well, alongside the Suns getting swept. So maybe if you get lucky, I don't wish injury upon nobody, but Boston gets derailed maybe a little bit. Tatum's out, then maybe the Sixers can go, or the Nuggets aren't playing all that great. Maybe the Thunder could go, and like it's too many different scenarios that open up different lanes for each guy that's on our list. But
yeah,
either way, when we're talking about pressure, we're talking about their resume, we're talking about their legacy. Having a title, like you mentioned, it cements who you are as a player, which is why we don't think about Allen Iverson in greatest point guards of all time talks. Hell, some people
right.
even call him a shooting guard, and I hate that personally, but you don't look at him in those conversations since he doesn't have a championship. Chris Paul will likely retire without a ring unless you have the
right.
Spurs winning a chip. Like it's one of those conversations I'm getting comfortable with now. It's like, yeah, CP is one of the best players to never
But
win a championship.
yeah,
Like it's
mm,
it's a doggy dog world out here, but it's the reality of sports, not even just the NBA. Not everybody wins.
yeah, there's got to be some luck involved. There's got the factors every single year into championships, injuries, and all that stuff, like you mentioned. So, but hey, at the end of the day, these guys that we mentioned, they have pressure on them one way or another. So
Yep.
through injuries, trials, tribulations, it's on them to find a way to make it through. So that being said, that's our top 5 list. Put in the comments who you have in your top 5 lists of players with the most pressure to win a championship, whether it's their first championship, second, third, fourth, fifth, doesn't matter. Put in the comments below. And I think that's the end of the episode. We're 1 week away from the NBA season coming back. So now that the season's back, we'll be back with more, NBA stories, what's going on, around with the season, all different storylines, teams, scores, all different things going on. We're thrilled to get back to talking about daily basketball games, weekly sports, this and that. But before, we get into that down the line, Jerry, do you have anything you want to close out this episode with right now?
Yeah, I'm still in football mode mentally, even with NBA coming up. So I just wanted to say congrats to the New York Jets for finally getting Dante Adams for one. That's huge. But secondly, the Dallas Cowboys need to blow that shit up.
Bro, they suck.
I am sick of watching that.
They're suck.
Getting massacred by the Detroit Lions. They ran 3 design plays to old linemen in the red zone, all in the same possession. Dude, they were literally laughing at the Dallas Cowboys. Jerry Jones needs to fire himself from being a GM and leave himself.
He said no other GM could do a better job than him, though.
Yeah. And right now, you look like you're closer to a rebuild than a motherfucking Super Bowl. This ain't the 90s. Get the hell out of office and just be an owner.
Yeah. It ain't looking good in Dallas right now, that's for
sure. And this dude even...
Tell us how you really feel, Jerry.
He's even talking about firing some dude on the radio because he's asking the hard questions.
He goes, what did he say? I'll have someone ask me the hard questions or some stupid shit like that.
Ask somebody to ask respectable questions. Either way, you threaten a man's job because he did his job the right way.
Right.
And what owner is getting on a radio talk show weekly?
Why was he even on that show to begin with? Just calling in. Hey guys, checking in.
No, literally that's some show that he powers. He hired those guys. That's his thing, so he could hype up his Cowboys on a weekly basis, except there hasn't been shit to hype up the last 3 fucking years. I'm sorry. I'm getting a little hot. We got to end this. I'm done. I just can't. That shit is terrible.
Jerry, don't worry. You can cool down. Before we leave, this is my week check-in for everyone fantasy football. I just want to make sure everyone's doing okay. Hopefully everyone's mental health is doing good.
Hey,
I didn't crack 85 this week, so not doing good there. But you know what? Lost another league by 6 points. Second highest scorer that week. Don't want to talk about it. But hopefully everyone's doing well, keeping your head above water. I'm rooting for all of you. Wishing the best for all of you. You too.
4-2 in both of my leagues. I'm coasting.
I'm staying afloat. I'm positive in all my leagues except for one, which is fine. But it's injuries are tough, man. A lot of different shit getting thrown at you. They throw the whole kitchen sink at you sometimes, but you gotta.
Indeed.
We gotta adapt and we gotta move forward. So hopefully everyone's doing well there. But thank you guys so much for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe if you are here on YouTube. Put in the comments again your top 5 players with the most pressure to win a championship. Check out the shorts content, our gamified content here on YouTube as well. If you are an audio only listener, please make sure to give us a 5-star review. All that good stuff. We appreciate all your support. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all that good stuff. Until next week, the big 6-0, episode 60.
Woo!
Peace.
Shabba.